So we're nearing the end of the line. We know that. We've been aware of it for a while. We're pretty sure at this point, due to radio silence and whatnot, that the license is gone. DC Multiverse is ending. It is moving 100% to Mattel, and McFarlane will not be continuing what he is currently doing. Now, that's neither here nor there. Lines end. But it does bring up the idea, what do we still need? What do we still want? What's worth tracking down here at the end? It's a fact. Lines end. Unless you're Marvel Legends, no line is forever. Like, let's be honest. Things like Motu and then Motu Classics and things of that nature come along and they run their course and then they die off. And DC is no stranger to this at all. But recently, I picked up this Flash. That's a good Flash. That's not a joke. That's a good Flash. That is a Wally West Flash. I love it. Recently, I picked up this Jay Garrick. That's a Flash, one of my all-time favorite Flashes for being what he is. That's a good Flash. I picked up this Superman from Superman 3. And recently, most recently, I picked up this Hal Jordan, closing off one of the final components of the Green Lanterns that I need, and removing a Hal Jordan from the shelf that was almost a placeholder. I liked him, but at this point, I would prefer a classic. I have a classic. I don't need an armored Hal Jordan. I only need one on the shelf. So as I put one up and take one off, it brings up the idea. This line is coming to an end. How much of it did I miss? How much of it would I have liked to have had? How much of it did I miss out on? How much of it should I go hunt down? Or should I just forget about the line completely? What do you think? Let's go to Legendsverse. That's how we're going to do this. I think this will work. Here we are on Model Behavior's favorite internet site, Legendsverse. I'm messing, I'm playing, but no, in all actuality, you will hear him talk about this quite a few times. In fact, he was the reason that I discovered that this even existed. I came here, I did buy the lifetime membership account, and I've been using it for a while. Every now and then I like to come in and I like to update my list, and I was thinking about updating my list and going through all of Legends. I was thinking about going through all of DC Multiverse. Well, I came in here, I put this tag to sort by name so that I wouldn't miss anything, and I thought it'd be interesting to kind of go through and figure out what I have, what I don't have, what I'm missing, what I'd like to hunt down, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to try to keep this moving as well as I can, but there will be things that we need to stop and talk about. Now, at the start of the list, this isn't too hard. There's some Alfreds and whatnot. This Alfred would be cool to have, but I am not buying a Batmobile, so that kills the first conversation right there. I also don't need an Anti-Crisis Wonder Woman in terms of this. It would be kind of cool to own an Anti-Monitor. If I ever found it somewhere and it was within actual reason, I don't think that I would hate having that. So we are going to put this on here. I am not signed in, so let me fix that and then we will continue this video. Okay, there, I fixed it. It was just minor. I just was not signed in. So I've marked the Anti-Monitor as being on my wish list because it would be cool to have one if I ever got a chance to have one. Aqualad, I'm not too interested in. Aquaman is one of those things I'd really like to have at least one of. It kind of feels like it would edge out the collection in terms of, a Justice League and whatnot. I feel like Aquaman's kind of important. So far, I'm kind of feeling this one. I think this is the one that I like. So I think that's the one I'm going to mark as a maybe and put on the wish list. And then moving down here, a lot of these other ones, I don't need a Flashpoint or anything like that necessarily. I don't need the one-arm Aquaman. It doesn't do anything for me necessarily. I don't need a Jason Momoa one, so all that's fine. We have Arkham Knight stuff, Batman, that I'm not too worried about. That would be cool, having the Armored Kingdom Come Batman. So I did mark him. That would be kind of cool. I'm not too worried about any of these patina versions. I don't need statue characters. Like, that does absolutely nothing for me. Absolutely nothing. Actually, though, this is interesting. Another reason I actually wanted to go through this, evidently, I did not mark this. I have this figure. We've actually talked about him on the show already. So we're going to put him into the collection so that he's marked. And then we're going to keep on going here. Atomic Skull and Superman 2-pack. They would be kind of cool to have an Atomic Skull, but nothing that I'm going to mark as something that I'm actively hunting down. Same with, I did mark one Azrael. I marked this, kind of like the original version. It would be kind of neat to have an over-stylized, ridiculous 1990s Batman, because that's really what he is, and I think that that would work. This would be a good idea for a Bane. I think this is a solid Bane right here, and I don't think I would go wrong with that. If we find a better one, I'm only going to need one. So, yeah. Now, I could get Azrael like this, but the one that I would want is definitely the 90s idea, and that's the only thing that really speaks to me here. Other Banes, I don't really care about a movie Bane necessarily. Movie Bane with a coat doesn't do anything for me. Sleeveless Black Flash doesn't do anything for me. This is kind of neat, but I don't need a Batman manga. We're just going to go on down the line here. We're going to keep on going. This is the Batgirl I passed on. I passed on that one, and I'm not sad about doing so. Other Batgirls, this would have been cool in all honesty, but I'm not going to mark it as something that I'm actively hunting. It just doesn't make sense. This is the one that I got, and I passed on this one and this one. This also would have been cool, but I would have liked it more if it was traditional Stephanie Brown Batgirl. Like, this is kind of more a spoiler Batgirl type of thing, and it's not quite the one that I would want on the shelf, so I did not mark that one. This Batgirl, however, I did mark, and we already have her, and I thought about marking this one. I actually liked the Art of Crime era costume. I liked it quite a bit, actually. In fact, one could argue that if I saw this somewhere, I wouldn't mind owning it. I'm going to go ahead and mark it as something that I wouldn't mind owning. Moving down the line, actually, I want to go back real quick. I want to take a look at that Batman, because we got a Batman down here in the corner. No, not worried about that Batman. And a lot of these Batmans I would be passing on. Like, a lot of them. I don't need a Frostbite edition. This Batman doesn't really do anything for me. We're starting into the Batmans. It is what it is, but unless one of these, really blows my mind, they're almost all passable. Patina Batmans, manga Batmans, I don't really care. Ice Batman, I don't need it. Other movie variant Batmans, I don't really need it. This, interesting, I'm pretty sure, is this the one? I don't have this one. This is the first Christian Bale Batman. I don't have that one, and I don't need that one. I have a Christian Bale Batman from the second movie, and I'm actually happy with that. I don't need Batman Incorporated. I have the Tim Burton Batman. This I considered. I liked Batfleck for what it was worth, but I'm not going to go out of my way to hunt that down. Not at this point. I just don't see a reason for it. This is cool, and I have it. So far, let's go to the 5th tab. I considered this, actually. The Dick Grayson Batman is something that I thought about for a while. I decided not to do it, and I decided not to actively hunt it down either, but it did cross my mind. I have this Batman. It says red. Is there a reason that I didn't mark it in my collection? I have this Batman. We've talked about it on the show. Add it to the collection and see where it goes from there. This is a cool Batman as well, year one, but having this, I don't necessarily need this. These are close enough that my eyes don't see enough difference that it's like blowing my mind or anything. I don't need this. I like this Batman, the Batman Spawn crossover Batman. I think that's cool, but I'm not going to actively hunt it down. I have the Black Lantern Batman. Like, this really gives you an idea of why people got tired of this line producing Batmans, though. Like, this is ridiculous. I did mark him. I thought it would be cool if I could find, like, this Night Batman at some point, because it'd be kind of cool to add him into a display with, like, Conan and stuff like that and kind of have that thing going on. Future State Batman is pretty cool, but I did not mark him. I'm not actively going to hunt down every Batman in the world. It's not, I don't need 1,000 Batman for the shelf, regardless of how cool those Batman are. I did mark this because I got him, and I was happy to get this first appearance Batman. I didn't want this first appearance Batman where they drew the lighting effect on it. I don't like when they add lighting effects to these figures. The figures are already in the reality of a 3D world space. We live here in the world where light hits the figures. I will just let the light hit the figures. Like, it's not for me. This would be cool simply to have for this gargoyle. Does that mean that I would ever click on this and make it something I'm actively hunting? No. Winter Batman, I did mark as if I ever found it, I would want it, but that's because I have a Winter Wonder Woman, and it just kind of feels cool to put the two together. It's one of those, not a FOMO, but like a weird little, that would be cool thing, so I did mark it. This is the Batman Flashpoint, which I got from the 2-pack, so I'm not actively hunting down a Flashpoint Batman standalone. I have no reason for that. I don't need all the suits, like the green suits and whatnot. Doesn't do anything for me. Like this is a lot. There's a lot of Batmans. When we come down to these Batmans, I like both of them. But if I have a choice between these rubber capes and the wired capes, I'm going to go wired capes every time, and that phases them out because these are so close to the other Batman that I have that have the wired capes that they don't do anything for me. Moving down the line, I have these two, and I've already marked it. I have this one, and I marked it. These are more color variants. This would be cool. I like the idea of having the Yellow Lantern Batman. I think that's cool. And this one I fought with myself a little bit. I think this what if story is pretty neat. Like the Superman Batman. I think that's really cool. But in the end, I chose not to make it as something I'm actively looking for. I'm already overloaded, if you want the truth of it, like trying to figure out what it is. And like there's 36 pages, and I'd rather not go crazy. I'd rather have the things that are marked be things that I'm actually actively looking for. I did get this Batman because I actually have these legs, so I marked him as the one that I own. And this is probably the one that I would have rather bought because it wouldn't have got me the extra legs that are now just sitting in a box and completely pointless to me because what am I ever going to do with them? Tab 7, and we are still on Batmans. I mean, look, talking about the line, we have to call out some of the ridiculousness, and this is a little ridiculous. Like, there's just tabs and tabs and tabs of just Batman. Big Ears Batman, don't care. Don't care. Cowboy Batman, don't care. I have Ace Hound Batman. This is that Superman Fusion Batman, which is pretty cool. Not too worried about it. Like I said, I don't need a bunch of vehicles. This would be really neat, but I'm not about to mark it because realistically, I'm not about to find it for a price that I'm ever about to pay, so it's just not happening. Plus, if I have to make room for one Batmobile, it's the 66, and I've already done that, and that's where we're staying. So the other Batmobiles don't really kick in here. I don't need this. Like, it's kind of neat, but like I don't like the detective vision thing. I think that was the biggest flaw with that video game was the detective vision was cool, but I spent almost 80% of the game in detective vision, not actually admiring the way that the game looked because I was constantly just seeing everything in like dulled colors with like bright oranges and reds and blues and everything and like highlights. I didn't really get to enjoy how the work they put into the game. I don't need this. I don't need this double packs. I have this Batman on the shelf, and he's one that I'm really considering taking off the shelf and selling because, like, he's heavy, like in a weird way, and he constantly falls over, and it really bothers me. So Batman and Joker from Arkham. I'm not needing that. I don't need this. Green Lantern Batman I did mark because that would be cool. It would be kind of neat to put like a Green Lantern Batman What If in with the lanterns that I already have. We are tab 8, and we are still looking at Batmans. And right now we're on the Batman Beyonds. Now these 3 I did not get, but I did get this one. So I have a Batman Beyond, and I'm happy with it. You could argue that maybe I didn't get the best one. I'm not worried about it. I have one. It pleases me. I'm not looking to go any further with it. So there. This would be cool to get the future Superman, but I don't like these. I don't like these rubber capes that like are always the way that they are. So I'm not about to actively put this on a list when we have a possible future set of figures, and maybe I'll get another shot at him down the line. There's nothing wrong with sometimes just waiting it out and seeing what comes down the line. These are very famous characters. Chances are we will get these Batmans, quite a few of them, again. So I'm not too worried about stuff like that. I'm just going to keep moving down the list and seeing what catches my attention here. And I think we are finally starting to get to the end of the Batmans, maybe. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe not. We're on Batman with an H at this point, so maybe not. Hazmat Batman. Going down. This is interesting. I almost marked this because I had this toy when I was a kid, but then I decided, who are you kidding? Who are you kidding? You don't want that just for that reason. It didn't hold like a special place when you were growing up or nothing. Not everything affects me that way. Moving down. I almost bought this back when I was very first looking for a Batman. I'm kind of glad that I didn't because I think in the long run I would not have cared for him as much as the other Batmans that I currently have. So we are all the way up to tab 10 of 36 tabs. So we are moving. I'm trying to keep us moving as I go here. I did buy this. I'm pretty sure I got no, I didn't get this gold label one. I got this one down here. All I wanted was the figures. I didn't care about like the autograph card or whatever, so I got that. I don't need this. I thought about it, but I really don't need it. And I passed on this back when I had the chance. If I have the opportunity, I'll get the Big Bane like I was talking about, and I'll be happy with that. Still moving down. This big long cape, I've seen him sold in a couple places. He's kind of cool, but once again, big rubber, unwieldy, crazy cape that basically makes him a statue. I'll pass. I'm not too worried about it. We're on tab 11. Still more Batmans. That's cool. That Hellbat suit. I considered it, but like it appears in a couple of comics. I think I've read one comic where he used it. It was kind of cool, but it didn't like blow my mind and sit with me in a forever kind of fashion. So I didn't mark it. More Batman vehicles. This is the only one that I wanted. This I went out of my way to get, and then I kept on moving. I only have the space that I have, so I chose one. This would kind of be cool. A Red Lantern crazy Batrocitus. I got to admit, for as dumb as it is, it has enough of my attention that with it being a lantern and whatnot, I would probably get it. Batwoman Unmasked. Oh, okay. I see what that is. Nope. Thought maybe it was something else. I don't necessarily need that. Batwing, Batwoman, Beyond, nope. Batwoman Unmasked, nope. We have a Bizarro. This is the Bizarro I have. This was the Bizarro that was before this Bizarro. I'm happy either way. Had I found this one before I found this one, I'd have been fine. The DC Classic one, I'm happy with that. I'm not too worried about tracking down at that point. A Beast Boy would be cool. We're going to put that in the marked for stuff that would be cool to have. Black Adam stuff, not too worried about it. I do have this, so I already marked it. I have seen this guy many times, and every time I see him, it feels like he wouldn't move very well, so I never buy him. And that makes me wonder about this one up here, if he would have the same problem, because I feel like it would be cool to have a Black Manta. But at the same time, I haven't stumbled upon yet one that I would actually like spend my money on, so I'm just kind of leaving it alone. Blackfire. Would it be cool to have a Blackfire? Absolutely, it would be cool to have a Blackfire. So I will mark her, and yeah. And chances of me ever finding that toy in the wild for a price that I'm going to pay is incredibly low, if not non-existent, but we'll mark it. 13. Now that we're past the Batmans, I feel like we're going to move a little faster. Blue Beetle. My daughter really likes Blue Beetle. It's not enough for me to hunt one down, but it is something enough to point out. If I ever got a Blue Beetle, I'm going to be honest, I would want him or him. I'm not particular as to either one, but it would sweeten the pot if I ever came across this, but I'm not going to mark any of these as things I am actively hunting, because those are very much pipe dream types of situations. This, however, a Blue Lantern Kyle Rayner, I'd put my money down for that if I found one. So that's pretty cool. Bullseye Batman is just so goofy. It's so outlandishly cool. I don't want it, but it does catch my eye every time that I see it. I'm not worried about Captain Atom. Captain Carrot, that's so ridiculous. I saw him at a store recently, too. I already marked him because I have him, and I'm happy with him. And we are moving on to 14 now. Okay, so here on 14... and you'll notice that some of these get roped in when you click on a line. It happens, okay? I'm not too worried about it. We're just looking at the possibilities here. If I was to pick a Catwoman, I have this one. I would love this one, and I've already marked it. And I also have this one. Yes, this is the one that I have. I didn't get this one. I ended up with this one. And I don't necessarily need this one. Very few Catwomen do I actually need and or want. This is one of my all-time favorite designs, so if I found her, that would be cool, and that's about it, because I already have the other two Catwomen that I absolutely wanted, and I'm happy with them. It would be cool to have this Clayface, and I've already marked it. I have this guy. I'm not sure why he is not marked, but Commander Steel, we've even done a video for him and everything. He's currently sitting in the collection. He's right up there. That would be cool. A Superman, Superboy, Connor Kent, Teen Titans, black shirt. That would be cool. I'd be into that. I'd be all over that. I do need a Cyborg. As of yet, I have marked this one, because he is the easiest one to find. That is honestly why. I'm not necessarily overly particular about the one that I get, as long as I can recognize him as Cyborg and he works out, and I think this would work out for what I need. Cyborg Superman, this one or this one, but this is the one I would want. If I came across this Cyborg Superman in a store somewhere, and I've never seen him ever, I wish I'd have made the pre-order. I did not. This one would have caught my attention. I'd have had him in no time. So, yeah. I already have... I don't have Damage. I have Atom Smasher. I apologize. I don't have a Damage. I don't know. Would I go out on my way to get him? Maybe. I don't need a Damian Wayne. He's not anywhere near one of my favorite characters or anything like that. We're moving into Dark Flash, Dark Knights. I don't need this. I look at all the Wonder Woman just to see. I thought about this, like a Darkseid. No Darkseid in this line has ever been released that I care about. Like, that's Darkseid. It's a movie one. I don't want it. That's Darkseid. It seems goofy with its cape and whatnot. I don't want it. Movie. Like, nothing about them appeals to me. I didn't see a Darkseid in this line that I would have purchased. That I ever came across anyway. Darkstar. No, not worried about it. Shazam would have been cool. I didn't get a Shazam. I did get the other one, Captain Thunder, and I'm happy with him. I'm not too worried about that. Deadshot, I don't know. We're going to leave that alone. Deadman. Would I want a Deadman? No. No, we're going to leave that alone. Deadshot, once again, it would be cool. I'm not about to go hunt that down, though. Now, a Deathstroke would be cool. But what Deathstroke? Would I want this, the more classic one with the gun belt? Or would I want this, the more updated orange one? I'm going to be honest. I'm going to keep them both marked. Because either one of these I would accept. Either one of these I would be interested in adding to my collection. And it would be cool. Like, I'd be sold on them. We already have this. We've done a video on it. And I have marked Dr. Midnight. He would be cool. And Donna Troy would also be very cool. I like Donna Troy, for as complicated and ridiculous as she is. I like her. This would be cool, but I don't want this one. This is a Dread Lantern, to be fair. I need an Alan Scott. But I want an Alan Scott that's more classic and not with the fiery eyes and whatnot and the difference. That's not the one that I'm looking for. So we'll worry about marking him when we come by him. Eradicator. Would I want an Eradicator on the shelf? No, not from this line. Not from this line, because every Eradicator that he released feels a little too buff for me. Like he feels like he's on the big Superman body, the one that seems a little too much. And also, he's got that rubber cape, and I don't really care for those rubber capes. So, no. Fire was taken out of the collection, so she is not marked, and we're not worried about marking her ever. But if we ever came across this Firestorm, absolutely. That Firestorm I would add to the shelf in an instant, no questions asked, 100%. Now moving on to the flashes. Looks like we've moved into some of the flashes, which is fine. This flash I saw. I saw this flash today, actually, while I was out shopping. And I passed on it. This flash I would prefer over the one that I have. I have the one with the shiny, sparkly feet. And this one feels like one that I would really like. But it's really the same figure. It's the exact same figure, molded with different plastic on the bottom legs, painted differently ever so slightly. I do not have the money, realistically, to be diving around and making that kind of decision. It doesn't exist. I can't just constantly toss out, like I said all the time, $20 here, it's $20 I can't spend here. I passed on him. And I'm not going to actively hunt him. I have the Flash I wanted. So I'm not worried about it. But that is the reason that we're not going to be reviewing this Flash. I skipped him, but I did get this Flash. And we'll be talking about him later on one of the lives, I'm sure. Frankenstein would be cool, but we're going to pass on that. That's Gladiator Batman. I marked him because, once again, these Gladiator things, they're kind of cool, and they fit the main thing that I collect, which is Barbarian stuff. So that's cool. Godspeed is, for me, the coolest looking Flash villain that there is. I always thought that he was amazing. So I would very much love to have a Godspeed. I think that he's cool. I think that he was completely underutilized and a joke in the show, but he was done pretty well in the comic, and that caught my attention, and I've always liked him. Grodd, don't care. Green Arrow, don't care. Green Lantern. Oh, the vampire one? No, I don't need that. This would be cool, though. This would be cool. See, if I could get this Green Lantern, that would be so cool. I'm into that. We have this one on the shelf. And I'm going to take it out right now because he is going to be removed from the shelf. There. He is now out of the collection because I'm going to be taking him off the shelf as we add the other one. But this one, John, we have on the shelf. We need Simon, so I marked him as something that I'm actively looking for. This was originally one that I was looking for, was the Silver Age one, but I'm happy with getting this classic one that I just got. This one down here that I just picked up, that's fine. So we're adding him, and that's fantastic. And this is the Alan that we're looking for. Maybe I'll get lucky someday. That Jessica Cruz I want like crazy. I love the Jessica Cruz character. I really do. The idea that she was sold to GameStop, she was sold at GameStop, and she sold out fast. And I don't like to go to GameStop, but I have made 4 or 5 random trips to see if she's there, as well as talk to the people working there and ask if they have her. Like if there's any way that any of the other stores have her and I can get her, and I just cannot track her down. I don't know what the chances are that I will ever own her, and that's a real shame, because that is the Green Lantern, aside from Kyle Rayner, that I looked forward to the absolute most, and it looks like I'm not going to get one. We all have problems. I do have this, and I am keeping it. I'm keeping this lantern. I'm trying to remember if I have this one or if I have the other one. That may have just answered my question, because I have both of these. I have the 90s one with the samurai armor and the samurai sword, and then I have this one, which is the 2000 era version. So we're going to mark him because I do have both of these. In fact, I believe we've talked about them both. Hold on. I don't have this. I got mine from the 2-pack. That explains it. So we're gonna make that removed. I got mine from the 2-pack, and I'm sure that we'll come across it at some point, because I got mine with Kilowog. That would be cool, but I don't think I'm too worried about it right now. I got this Guy Gardner, and I've also got this Guy Gardner. I do not mark him in my collection because he immediately went up for sale, and I will end up selling him. I'm not worried about the Red Lantern Guy Gardner. I'm not worried about the armored Hal Jordan. I've been disappointed with a lot of the Harleys in this line. I don't like either of them. I didn't like her. I never saw her. She may have got my money, if I'm being perfectly honest. Maybe. I did get this Hawk Girl, and we've already talked about her on the channel. And if I had to pick a Hawkman, that's the one I want right there. So we're going to mark him as something that I would actively hunt. I think he's cool, and if I could get him to go alongside her and kind of match their colors off, they kind of got that same kind of palette, I would be fine with that. I do have Hourman. I don't need Doctor Strange. I would like this Huntress, New 52 Huntress. That would be really cool if I could find that. We're moving on to tab 20. Hush. Do I want to hush? 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 No, not from this line. If he had a real coat, I think I would jump on that, in all honesty. But not the way that they sold him, no. Superman, hush, no. Ice, no, especially not since I took Fire off the shelf, and I'm not about to re-add her on the shelf to get the superior figure. Because look, Ice looks fantastic, but Fire does not look fantastic. And I'm not about to put Fire back on the shelf just to get Ice regardless. Impulse, no, not worried about it. Jade, we added her, and we've already talked about her on the show. I don't need Jim Gordon Batman, does nothing for me. I don't need this Joker. I don't need Jonah Hex. Ooh. I don't know. Him I fight with myself, because it would be kind of cool to have a Mr. Terrific, but I don't know. Kid Flash, no. Kid Flash Crisis. I grew up with that one, but still no. No, I don't think that's something that I'm actively hunting down. A giant killer croc. Would a giant killer croc be cool? Would it be cool? Would it be cool to own? I think I'd pass on it. This far in, giant character taking up space on the shelf for a line that's more than likely doomed, and I don't know like where we're going to go from there. No, I wouldn't actively hunt him down. But this, the Kilowog, that's where I got my 90s Kyle, which is why I did not buy the single 90s Kyle when I saw him. That's why that happened. So there. Now I understand where that came from. We've got this, and we've even talked about it. Kite Man. Kite Man. Hell yeah. I would get Kite Man. It's so stupid and so ridiculous. I would add Kite Man to the shelf. Like, there's no question in my mind I would add Kite Man to the shelf. I have that Kryptonite Doomsday, which is the reason I actively did not seek hunting, like getting another Doomsday. I'm actually perfectly happy with that Doomsday. This Wonder Woman, Last Night on Earth Wonder Woman, I have seen her, and seeing her in person really changed my opinion about this design, and I would definitely add this to the shelf if I seen it again and had the money on me. Lex Luthor, Baby Kaiju, it's basically really just dude in suit. He's done very well, but no, I don't think I would actively hunt him down. Now, this Lex Luthor we did buy. This Lex Luthor we bought specifically for that chair. This Lex Luthor we already took out of the collection and kept the chair for Red Sonja. So this Lex Luthor we are going to remove as a mark in the collection because it's not realistic. Power Armor Lex Luthor I would be interested in. Super Suit Lex Luthor I would be interested in. Either one of these two that I came across at any time, they could get my money and I would be okay with it. I think that I would buy in. Ooh, a main man. It would be really cool to have a main man with a bike. It would be really cool to have a main man, but that's a black and white main man. At least it looks like it's a black and white main man. So that one doesn't necessarily catch my attention, and I'm not about to buy that bike just to get a main man. Jim Gordon, absolutely. And believe it or not, I think if I saw Jim Gordon black and white, it would intrigue me to do some black and white photos, but I don't think... If I had a choice, I'd just get this, and then if I wanted to do black and white photos, I would just do a black and white photo. I don't think I'd have to do that. This, I originally have him as something I'm actively hunting. Now that I've seen him in person, we're going to take him off that list. I would not actively hunt this Man-Bat. He looks cool standing there. He has no wingspan. His wings are what you see, and you can't do anything with him that actually gets those wings out. He's just always that, always standing. And with a figure like this, one of the things you want is to be able to put his arms out and get the total wingspan. And if you can't do that, it really hurts half the figure. This is a really cool figure. Like, it's really cool. But it really holds itself back by not having the wings. Wait. Go back, hold on. A Manhunter? Yes, I put that on my actively hunting, my wish list, because, like, a Manhunter would be cool. It would be very cool to have a Manhunter. So now we'll check this tab out. Okay, so this tab here, we're looking at Manhunters. I would take either one of these, but I went ahead and marked this one because I've actually seen this one active in places where I've bought stuff. I've never seen this one anywhere, which makes me feel like this one is very hard to find and probably overly expensive. And in the long run, I just would want a Manhunter for my Justice League. So that's kind of where I ended up with it. Shrek. I would love to have Shrek. I got basically everything else from that line I wanted. I never found a Shrek. We'll see how that goes. Maybe someday. Metallo. Not the Metallo that I find interesting. Like, not the one that I know. So I had zero interest. Metamorpho. No. Metron, no. Mirror Master. No. He's very, very simple and not something that, like, I'm not, like, overly excited about Mirror Master. Like, ever, necessarily. Even though his power is kind of cool, I'm not interested. Mr. Freeze, however, would be cool to have a Mr. Freeze. I don't know what Mr. Freeze, and neither one of these two necessarily really. Mr. Miracle is kind of cool. There he is, Mr. Terrific. If I ever got a Mr. Terrific, it'd be this one right here. It'd be this one. Not this. I like the white and red. Definitely. Modern Comic Green Lantern, John Stewart. No, not too worried about it. Zaz, not too worried about it. Mongol, not too worried about it. Monarch. No. Oh, okay. Looks like I did mark a Mr. Freeze right there. And that's perfect for me. I would be into that Mr. Freeze. I would also be interested in this Mr. Terrific. Because I really liked him in that movie. But I think that if I got one, my attitude, like normal, kind of leans towards the idea that I like the comic book variants of these things. And that's where I would end up. I skipped on this when I was buying all the free Frozen comics Batman characters. I'm not interested in this big walking guy. Later on, I thought about it, and it would have been cool to pick one or two of these up and kind of repurpose them into Big Daddies, but it's too late now, and I'm never about to go hunt those down. I do have Necron, and he's already added. Nightmaster is pretty cool. Nightwing. I do not have a Nightwing, but I don't want this Nightwing. I don't want this Nightwing. I don't want this Nightwing. If I had come across this Nightwing, I may have bought it. Realistically. But, in a dream scenario, it's this. I did not mind the red and the black. I thought it looked fine. I do prefer the purple, but in this case, the Court of Owls is one of my all-time favorite concepts in all of Batman ever. It's one of the greatest comic books I ever read, like where you actually kind of go crazy with Batman over the course of the book. I absolutely loved that. The way their faces and everything are. I have actually gone to conventions as a Court of Owls member multiple times. So that's something that very much catches my attention, is very cool. This would be a dream right here. I would get a Nightwing for the shelf. I would get a Talon, and I would get a Court of Owl. That would be fantastic. That would just be absolute. Yeah. I would also very much like to get the blue, but if I have to actively hunt something, this would just be perfect, and it would really fill a major gap. This, originally, Ocean Master, I had on my list of things I'm actively hunting. I'm not that worried about it. When I really stop and I think about it, I'm not that worried about it. I want an Aquaman, but expanding into Aquaman stuff, not necessarily something I'm worried about. This would be cool, though. The Crime Syndicate Owlman, sign me up. 100%. The gray and black is the one that I would want. I don't think I'd buy the blue one because that's the one that I want, is the gray and black. If I could get a Parallax Green Lantern, if I saw one somewhere, he's probably on my list, realistically. Moving down, this would be cool. If they would have done one of these in more, a style like this, I would have bought the Phantasm in a second. I'm not too worried about movie figures. I love this Power Girl. I've talked about her multiple times. I don't care. As far as I'm concerned, she is easily in the top 5 greatest figures that he did this entire line. And yes, for what it is worth, I actually wouldn't mind having one of her if I ever came across her. Let's see. Power Ring, not too worried about it. This Professor Pig with the blood splatter, that is super creepy, super cool, super unsettling. I kind of want it. So I put it on my wish list because I think that would be very, very standout. Psycho Pirate, that's pretty cool, but we're going to pass on him. I have not seen a Ra's al Ghul that I would actually buy. Ragman is an incredibly deep cut. It's so crazy to me to think that they did a Ragman. Right here, Raven in the Build-A-Beast Boy figure, and that's cool. I would definitely like a Raven. A Red Hood along with a Nightwing would have been cool. A Red Hood period would have been cool. If I could ever find one ever, it's this one right here. So I'm going to mark that. This is the design that I like overall. This is what I would want. So I guess I could get him if I got this. So either one of these that I ever came across, but that's the design I would want. Otherwise, going down here, I did mark this, Red Robin. You know me, if you've been here on this channel for a while, I really, really like Tim Drake. He's my favorite Robin. For some reason, people really don't like it when I say Tim Drake is my favorite Robin. Or when I claim that he's the best Robin, because arguably he is the best Robin. I said Robin. There's a distinction there. Dick Grayson has moved past the Robin mantle and is ideal as Nightwing, but not as Robin. I never want to see Dick Grayson regress to the Robin title. But I do want to see Tim Drake own the Robin title and make it his own. And so that's kind of where I sit with that stuff. So absolutely, it would be cool to have a Red Robin. Otherwise, Red Tornado. Would I want a Red Tornado? I don't think I care. Robin. No, not too worried about it. These Robins, not too worried about it. Carrie Kelly. I'm going to be honest. Carrie Kelly is low-key one of my all-time favorite Robins because she stands out from the rest and she's part of the Dark Knight comic that I liked a lot. It's just, that's really cool. Like, I just think she's unique enough that she gets my interest. That there, Robin, Tim Drake, but I already have one on the shelf that I'm happy with, so I'm not worried about him. Also Tim Drake, but I have one on the shelf. Like I said, I'm not worried about him. I have this one, which is just so different. This would be cool. A young Dick Grayson Robin, this would be cool. That I'd be into. If I could get a retro, like literally he's basically a little kid Robin, and he's running around with a big 70s Batman or whatever, this would be really cool. I'd be into this figure if I ever found it. Robin of Earth 2, don't care. This is the Robin that I bought, the Robin Reborn. And I made a couple of comments back when I got him that he doesn't seem right. There's parts of his costume and everything, like what they're claiming he is doesn't feel like what he actually is. But having him sit on the shelf for a while, he's fine. Like he doesn't bother me. He's a pretty good Robin for what I need him to be. And that's the reason I never actively sook out any of the other Robins, because I don't think it would have made that much of a difference, in all honesty. I'm happy with this one. Rocket Red, I don't care. I don't need a Sabak. I don't need a Rookie and Mr. Bloom. Sandman, that would be cool. If I came across a Sandman, I would pick him up. That's cool. If I came across a Scarecrow, and I definitely had to pick one, it is 100% this classic Scarecrow. That Scarecrow is sick. That's the best Scarecrow he did out of everybody that he released. I mean, everything is subjective, sure, but that one is arguably the very best one. Let's see, more Scarecrows, none that I'm necessarily worried about adding to my collection. Sergeant Rock. No. Shazam. More Shazam. More Shazam. Not worried about it. Shining Knight. Not worried about it. Signal. Do I want a Signal? Ooh, that's a tough one, actually. I think I would pass on the Signal. But here's the reason why, if I'm being perfectly honest. The reason I would pass on the Signal is because when it comes right down to it, the Signal came out in a time when I was kind of getting out of comic books. And because I was just kind of getting out of comic books, I don't really have a connection to the Signal. He doesn't really interest me in that way. He doesn't feel any nostalgia or anything for me. So I just don't see any reason that I would pick him up and add him to my mainline collection, because I don't think he'd survive the test of time for me unless later on I start reading a bunch of backlog Batman books and figure out that the Signal is completely awesome, and then who knows, maybe I messed up. But for right now, I would pass on the Signal. I would, however, love to have a Sinestro Parallax. That would be really cool. And I'd love to have a Sinestro, so I marked him on my searching. I'm not worried about Solar Superman. Speed Force Flash, don't worry. Sportsmaster, no. I would very much love either of these two Starfires. They sold out like crazy. We never even had a chance, most of us. I'm going to say most of us because that's the way I feel about it. We already marked this Superman earlier, but for some reason he's on this list twice because here they're counting him as Starman. Or maybe this is the Starman figure. If that's true, that would be cool. It would be very cool to have a Starman. Like, very cool. In fact, to the point where if I ever see him somewhere, he would interest me. If he's the figure I think he's supposed to be, I don't know why this is the picture that they're giving us, in all honesty. Static Shock, but not the one that I recognize. So, no. Ooh, a Steel. Yes, I would buy a Steel. I would buy a Steel, absolutely. Moving on to tab 28. Superboy. This is the Superboy that I recognize. But he doesn't come with his coat. If you don't sell the jacket, I don't want him. It really is that simple. If you don't sell me the jacket, I don't want him. Otherwise, Superboy Prime. I've seen him many, many times. I'm sure I could get him if I ever wanted him. I'm not too worried about him. It would be cool, but no, I'm not going to actively hunt that down. There's two Supergirls. Neither one of them am I too worried about. There's more Supergirls. Not worried about her. I have this Supergirl. It is the only Supergirl I ever found. It is the only Supergirl I ever bought. And I am more than happy with them. However, if they were to release a Supergirl, say, movie Supergirl, and it looked spot on to sit next to the Christopher Reeve, you'd have my money. You'd have me on that one. Now we're into the Superman. The Superman has been a problem for me in this line. A real problem. I want to like Superman. I do like Superman. That's not the correct statement. But in this line, we have received Superman after Superman that I don't like. And maybe this is my opportunity to explain it a little more. This Superman, he looks off. I don't know how to explain it. There was something about him that, like, it didn't feel right. Like the blue and everything. He felt like he was a saturated television Superman or something, and the face never quite hit me right. I don't want a mullet video game Superman. I don't want a Zack Snyder Superman. It does nothing for me. I think this one's head is really thin and tall and weird looking. I did buy this because I like Christopher Reeve, and I don't care. There's parts of that third movie that I actually do like. I didn't want this. I thought first appearance Superman was something that I would very much be into until I got the looking at him, and like I seen his face, and like the body was kind of weird to me, and like maybe he was right, but like even if he was right, there was something about him that I just couldn't get behind, and I ended up passing on him. This Superman that they released alongside him, basically, with the different shield and whatnot, which over time, this was one of the appearances that he had. Also, exact same problem because they just reused the mold. This Superman, I bought. Action Comics Superman, I bought, and I was very thrilled with him until I started figuring out that he was built on a very old body. He was smaller than the other characters on the shelf, including the other Supermen, and including Batman and whatnot, and it bothered me to a point that I actually took him off the shelf and sold him. That Superman, I don't need a Justice League cartoon big chest Superman. It's weird to me. That was the Superman I was the absolute most excited for. I grew up with that Superman. I love that Superman. I've watched that Superman since I was a little kid, and I still watch that Superman today. I love that Superman. This Superman I marked down because if I ever found him, he would be cool. He very much fits the barbarian stuff that I like. Superman, DC Vampires. I don't really need this dead Superman. I have a dead Superman, and he's more than fine. I don't need a statue Zack Snyder Superman. I don't need a Future State Nightmare Edition Superman. I don't need this Superman with his hollowed out, weird, like skeletal frame cheeks. I don't need this Superman from the video game where first off, I don't like that Superman to begin with because of what he is. And, I guess it was fine. Don't get me wrong. I like the storyline a lot, but I don't need that Superman. I know this is going to surprise you, but I read the blue Superman, the electric weird Superman. I wasn't like thrilled by him, but that figure is good enough that as a testament to the history of Superman, I would love to have that on the shelf. I really would. I think this would be cool on the shelf. I bought the Kingdom Come Superman because fantastic. One of the best Supermen ever, and one of the best he did in the entire line. Then he did a Superman New 52. But I know this is going to sound weird. His face, he seems too old. I know that's probably weird, but when I look at him, he feels older than he's supposed to be. When I read those comics, that Superman feels young. And this, I don't know if it's the body they chose or what they chose to do with it, or if the armor plates are just weird, or if it's just an overall design flaw from top to bottom. I do not like it. It feels like it's an older Superman wearing the Superman 52 costume, which is weird, so I don't want it. I don't need Lionhead Superman. It doesn't do anything for me. I don't need big weird brain Superman. Like this, I know what it is, but even as a testament to the history of Superman, it's just, I don't care. Like, I don't need a black and white Superman. I don't need this edgy Superman, the Authority Superman. I loved this movie. Absolutely loved this movie. This is easily one of my favorite superhero movies ever. I really, 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 really enjoyed this. But, big old but. When I looked at his face, because I was holding him in the store, I was holding this one specifically in the store, that one, and I noticed something. His face. He looks like Shooter McGowan. Like, that bothers me. Like from the Happy Gilmore movies, that's who he looks like. And I don't need cosplay Shooter McGowan. I feel like they messed the face up. And messed it up enough that I didn't want it. Maybe had I seen the other version of him, maybe it's better. I don't know. Super wide Superman. I don't like him. I don't like the art for the most part of The Dark Knight Returns. And I never have, and I never will. So I don't want that wide Superman. I didn't necessarily want this infected Superman. I did buy this classic Silver Age Superman. I thought that was one of the best they ever did. But I immediately skipped the 0 Hour Superman because I don't need a mullet Superman, which automatically counts out the Superman in Crypto because I don't need a super wide mullet Superman, and I don't need this other super wide mullet Superman, which kind of sucks because I would have loved to have had a Crypto, but I wouldn't have liked to have bought these Supermen to get it. I also don't need a Jokerized Superman. And I really don't like this Superman, this Black Adam comic cover Superman. He looks sickly, like something is wrong with him. And then we have the Ghost of Krypton. I don't need an armor Superman. Like I said, I picked him up and I looked at his face. It wasn't this one. It was this one down here, and he looked like Shooter McGowan, and it bothered me to no end, so I chose not to do it. I don't need a statue Superman. This Superman John Kent, I don't care. I don't have enough association with him in the comics because I didn't read that. So it doesn't appeal to me necessarily. It doesn't mean anything to me. I don't need Superman of Earth 2. There's something funny about his face, once again, that bothered me. This Ultraman would have been cool, but this Ultraman comes with his own problem. He has the rubber cape, which I wouldn't be thrilled about. And I don't think I'd love to buy him and then realize that I don't want to buy the rest to make Starro, and that's the only reason I would want him is to make Starro. So, no, completely. The Superman robot. And I'm not mistaken, the Superman robot, if this Superman robot is the one that says 4 on it or whatever, it is. It is. It's the one that says 4. Okay. Then if I'm being perfectly honest, that I would like. I liked him in the movie. He's fun. Superman versus Batman. Super wide Superman. No, once again, Superman that's always angry and always fighting a doomsday. This was the closest I came to buying a Superman earlier in the line. But I still passed on it because I just didn't feel like it was what I wanted yet. So I passed on it. Jay Leno Superman face Superman that's also fighting Ultraman. I didn't want this weird New 52 Jay Leno Superman, so I passed on that. And then I passed on Superman versus Devastator. And then I saw the Superman that came out with the Godzilla. And the Godzilla traps this Superman behind an $80 paywall, which normally I would complain about. But since I don't want that Superman, that didn't bother me at all. Superman Action Comics 1000 was the first main Superman I wanted. And I missed him, and his price point shot up over $100, and I was immediately like, no, I don't need him anymore. It made my decision immediately. I don't need him. Red Sun Superman, most of the same problems. Super wide chest Superman from the animated series. I don't need a super wide chest Superman. I did buy the Christopher Reeve Superman, and I would love to have the Superwoman Crime Syndicate, but she presents the same problem as the Ultraman. If I got her, I can't exactly complete that Starro because I have a feeling I'm never going to get the rest of those figures. So in all honesty, I'm going to take her off of what I'm actively hunting because I don't want to put myself in a situation where I feel like I'm still looking for her. Leave it up to fate. Literally. Swamp Thing. Absolutely. Absolutely. Him I'm on board for. I don't know what this one looks like. I don't necessarily care about the one that has the horns. The other Swamp Thing that I showed you, that's the one I want. The Rose Swamp Thing, the red one, I've actually come across him 5 different times. Like at different stores. But I never want him, so it never matters. Do I want an Atom? No. Do I want the Arkham Knight? No. Do I want the Batman? That's a statue? No. Batman Who Laughs? I don't know, maybe I'm not edgy enough to care about the Batman Who Laughs. The Batman metal it didn't grab my attention, that's what I'm saying. It was a moment in comic books where I was just kind of like stepping away from the single issue stuff, and I was getting real tired of events, and then it was basically an event that led to an event that followed an event that caused an event, and I was like, I'm done. And I just walked away from metal. And so I don't have any connection to this Batman that laughs. I don't care about him. There's nothing that's going to make me care about him. I don't care. Etrigan. Not this one. Maybe this one if I could see it. I can't see it. I'm not worried about it. I passed on the Duck. I don't need this Flash with like the long things. I kind of got the Flash that I wanted. Flashpoint Flash would have been the absolute Flash for me. Realistically, when they were releasing all these Flashes, like that's Dawn of DC. He's kind of good, but I didn't really care for his face too much. This is the Flash that I felt like I wanted, which now this body has been reused with the silvery, glowy, shiny feet, and the body has also been reused and repainted in the newest Flash that's currently on the market. And so you can get this Flash now, and you don't have to spend the money to get this Flash now, which is nice, but I don't need it. I've literally got the Flashes that I want at this point. And I've got a Jay Garrick that I want, so none of these Jay Garricks hit for me anymore. Television Flash, I don't need it. This is the Flash that I bought, and he's only staying on the shelf because I like a Barry Allen Flash, and I don't mind that he's kind of like this glowy thing. I kind of feel like that's like him like tapping into the Speed Force, which is kind of cool. It's a gimmick. If I ever get a chance to replace this one with one of the newer ones, I will. But I'm also not about to waste my money to do so, so chances are this is the Flash that will sit on the shelf. Whatever. Looking at these other ones, Statue, don't care. Hot Pursuit, don't care. This long-eared one that's fighting the multi-pack, don't care. I don't want this one with the Flash comic thing here. I don't need super skinny Flash from the movie. Absolutely, I don't need that Flash. That I would like, though. The Flash Wally West red suit, personally, feels like one of the greatest designs ever. Now, I know there are a lot of people that don't like that design. I get it. But personally, I have always felt like when the mantle was passed to Wally, he felt like he had to honor the Flash's legacy. He left Kid Flash, tossed away the yellow, moved into the exact costume that his mentor was already running with, and then ran with it. I get why they did it. But realistically, if he wanted to pay respect to his mentor, but maintain his own person, that should have been the design of his costume from the beginning. That red, where his hair is still out, and it's kind of like Kid Flash, but he's grown up, obviously. You change the colors a little bit, and you give the red. Now he has the red to honor his mentor, but he is still the Kid Flash that grew up into the Flash. That is perfect. That Wally West Flash, I feel like that is legacy design at its finest. I know some people don't like it, and I'm sure there are reasons for that, but on a personal level, this is fantastic design. I love that Flash. I would very much like to have that Flash on my shelf. Batman with Croc, not too worried about it. A bunch of Jokers. Most every Joker I'm not too worried about because I've got the Joker that I want. Jokers here. I'm not worried about that Joker. This would kind of be cool, but no. Once I got this Joker, the Silver Age one, I didn't need any of the others. Like, every single other one at that point paled in comparison. It really did. I will, however, go out of my way to say that if I ever ran into either of these Jokers, that would change my mind. I would not mind having a Heath Ledger Joker. Heath Ledger Joker would catch my attention and would get my money. And I did consider for a while, because this was kind of the Joker I was looking at, and it came with Punchline. But now that I've got the Joker that I want, I don't want another Joker. And so unless there's a single release of Punchline, I'm just not going to get her, and that's not going to bother me. But I would very much like a Heath Ledger Joker, and I am going to go out of my way to get the other Joker that's coming out very soon, the 89 comic Joker, which we know what that really is, but you get the idea. I'm going to try to get him for sure. Going further than that, I don't need the Joker Titan. I don't need any of these Jokers. I don't need Gangster Joker or Criminal Joker or Con Man or whatever. Penguin Arkham City, no. But traditional black suit Penguin right here, aristocrat type of like goofy, Silver Age guy right here, fantastic. I would definitely buy that. I have this Penguin already. I don't need an Arkham Penguin. I don't need a movie Penguin. The Question would be very cool. I marked the Question as somebody that I would want. However, the Riddler like this, no, that's not for me. The Riddler like this, no, not for me. The Riddler like this, no, not for me. The Incel Riddler, no, not for me. The video game, closest for me, but if I was to get one Riddler, I would want this. The suit Riddler with the cane, that's my favorite design for him. I have no idea why. It just feels right. I love that one. That's the one that I would want. If I was to ever put a Riddler on the shelf, that's what I want it to look like. The Rival, not too worried about it. The Rogues, I already have the one that I want. I don't need the Blue-Face Rogue. I thought about the Spectre. I did, but I passed. Not too worried about that one. It did catch my attention. I almost did it, but no. Three Jokers, Red Hood, no. I don't need this Flash that's also behind a paywall. I don't need movie Two-Face, but I do want this Two-Face. The white and black, for me, that's the Two-Face colors. I really, really like that. I know in the comics he did not look like that. I know that he was this one down here, but this is the one that I would want. If I ever got a chance to find this one, I would buy it. This one I'm not attached to like that. I don't want it, and I don't need movie ones. I also don't need this Two-Face Batman. It's a cool thing, but I don't need it. Once again, Ultraman, I already talked about why I would skip that. Ultraman movie-wise, I don't need to explain why I don't want that. I don't want a lot of movie figures. They're just not for me. Speed, Metal, Flash, sure. To me, I'm not worried about it. I like this color scheme. That's literally the reason I would buy it, is because it reminds me of the Blue Lantern Flash. I would buy this. That's the reason. Otherwise, we have Wildcat. Yes, this Wonder Woman I want. And he will not re-release it for the life of me. And I will take her in whichever one of these color schemes I can get, as long as I can get this Wonder Woman body. I have this Wonder Woman right here. And I do believe that she's sticking around. I fought with myself for a while about that, but I think that she's sticking around. I put Gal on here because I really, really liked the movie that she did, and I would love to have one of her on the shelf. I do not own this one, but since I already own this one, I'm not hunting this one down. I do have this Flashpoint Wonder Woman, and we are going to be discussing her at some point because I think there are certain mistakes in her design that have made her age poorly into the line, and I don't think she's a good figure. She is real close to coming off the shelf permanent. I already marked a Gal, so whatever Gal I got at that point, I would just be happy with it. I have the first appearance Wonder Woman. I talked about it. I very much like it. I had this Wonder Woman, and I sold it. I did not like it. I don't like the way that it's weighted and things like that. I just don't like the way that she works. I don't need this armored Wonder Woman. I did get, I can't find this Wonder Woman, not for a price that I'm willing to pay, but if I could get her in either one of those color schemes, you have my attention. We just talked about this Wonder Woman that has the helmet. If I could find the one with the helmet or this one, I would buy either one of them, because after seeing this in person, this is a solid Wonder Woman, and I could repurpose that body for custom fodder. I really could. I have this Satana. We'll take whichever Gal we can find. I preferably not the 1984, but anyone that we can find. And this one, the last one on the list of all this stuff, this Wonder Woman is the second best Wonder Woman in the entire line. You could argue first best, I guess, but really this one right here. This is the Wonder Woman I want. This is the Wonder Woman that I think is the second best Wonder Woman in the line. But she is trapped behind an $80 paywall because you have to buy this Godzilla. I hate that. I absolutely hate that. That ruins her. There's no way around it. It ruins her. Because now she is in a spot where I can't get my hands on her in a way that allows me to be fair about any evaluation that I would give to her. If I buy her for $80, I'm going to judge her like an $80 character because she's trapped behind an $80 paywall. I don't like that, but I know that my mind will do that. I will point out every ridiculous part of her that I don't like, that feels a little too McFarlane figure, that I'm normally willing to look past because they're $20 figures. But she's not a $20 figure. She's trapped behind an $80 paywall with a Godzilla that I'm not going to keep. I don't want it. So since I don't want that, even if I got it, I've now got to find a buyer for that Godzilla. Will I find it? I have no idea. Maybe, maybe not. There's no guarantee that he's going to sell at the toy table, because in order to recoup what I've lost buying an $80 Wonder Woman, which is only worth about 25 bucks, I need to get him off my table for anywhere around $50 to $60. What's the reality of getting him off the table for that? Maybe somebody would buy him at 30 or 40, but I would still be taking a loss, which would then still recoup my opinion on that Wonder Woman. And price is a weird monster. I try not to get wrapped up in it, but we do pay price for figures. And sometimes, especially if we're getting screwed on the price, that can put a bad taste in our mouth when it comes to the figures in general. A lot of people have had that problem when it comes to things like that right there. Some people don't like the Maximum line because they don't want to pay $60 for a Marvel Legend, a line that is known for being a line that people can get into at a budget value and get decent figures. Now all of a sudden those decent figures are moving into the $60s and $70 price range, and it's making people feel a certain way. I understand that. And then that attitude, because money is something that we spend to get these figures, falls back onto this, and then it kind of creates an opinion about the way that we feel about the thing that we obtained. Just like I said, time and time again, I've said that Psylocke over there is a line killer. She's the kind of figure that comes out bundled with another figure. And if you take into account what she would have cost and what he would have cost by the size and everything and the way that they like to claim that things are deluxe, then chances are she was actually less than the Thanos figure. And that means in a $60 pack, he probably cost $40, and she was probably a $20 value figure. And as a $20 value figure, she has exposed just what is possible with the females of the line that they're not doing. She's a line killer because she exposes what's possible and what's not being done. And everything that comes out after her that is compared to her is in trouble. That's a line killer. Every now and then, these figures have something like that. They release this one ultimate figure that really gets a lot of attention and then makes you look at everything else and go, okay, so this is going to be the new standard. And then the next figures come out and you go, okay, whoa, 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 whoa. Why? Why? But that is a look from Legendsverse over every single thing that Legendsverse allows me to see has been made. And every single thing that I might want, and every single thing that would be cool to own. That's a lot. This is a big video. This is a big topic. There's a lot out there. Maybe you saw something that you would be very interested in that I have no interest in at all. Maybe you're happy the line is going away. Maybe you're kind of sad. Maybe you're hoping that if the line does go away and the new figures come out and everybody starts selling the old ones, a lot of these figures I mentioned will be accessible again and for fair price. Who knows? Cross your fingers. It can go one of two ways. All the figures that I just talked about are about to move into the collector circles and become very difficult to obtain for very high prices. Or they could become the next wave of figures that people get rid of so that they can move into the Mattel line. And then, if you stick with the line that you are currently building, maybe you can build it out to the absolute end game that you were looking for. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting 2 years because you got to give the Mattel line time to really get on its feet and get moving before you... And really, it's already starting to happen. I'm already seeing some people discuss selling their old stuff. I'm very interested to see what's going to happen over the course of this year and the next year in terms of how the next line operates, how much attention it gets, and how much it puts this line up for either collector circles or literally inventory that people are trying to purge because now it's time to buy the new stuff. It's going to be an interesting 2 years. That's a look at the entirety of Legendsverse stuff for DC Multiverse. I've discussed literally every figure in the line now, directly or indirectly, even if it was just as simple as, I don't want that, and then skipping the 9 that I go past. Hey, if you didn't know anything about Legendsverse, now you do. I use it. I like it so far. Not saying it doesn't have room to grow, but being on the ground floor of something like this, it is pretty cool, and it has been kind of useful. Anyways, guys, I'm going to get out of here. This video is over an hour, which is a big ask for one of my normal post videos instead of one of my lives. But I really wanted to get this out there, and now it's out there. I'm going to get out of here.
I have spoken.